We've got tips and recipes for healthy living. So for fun and inspiration, come and join us in the raw food world.
And in Hawaii, that's like close. It's close to the whole Fukushima thing. And I know you're a traveler and stuff, and I believe that you visit areas like this where there might be radiation. Like, does this concern you at all, or like, what do you do?
Absolutely. It absolutely concerns me. One of the things, by the way, in the DVDs, the Longevity Now Conference 2011 DVDs that you get, if you get the $167 package or the $297, is you get a whole thing on me talking about radiation and how to protect yourself. And now we've seen this whole nuclear thing just blow up because there was Fukushima. Then there was another plant, the Onagawa plant north of Fukushima, that also had major problems and may even have had some leaks. It made it into the press one day and then disappeared. But that's also a problem there. There's also a major problem in Nebraska right now with the Fort Calhoun nuclear plant, which has been flooded by the Missouri River. That's an extremely dangerous situation. They've evacuated everybody out of 10 miles of that has actually burned an acre of the property where there are nuclear fuel cells stored, and there's all kinds of nuclear debris stored there, including all the gloves and equipment and everything that people have worn who've been working around nuclear radiation. And if that burns up, watch out. I mean, who knows what's in that stuff. And then there was the problem with the Alabama plant a few months ago, where the tornado ripped through and shut the power down at an Alabama nuclear power plant. So all of a sudden this nuclear thing's heating up. Recent research on the nuclear power plants in America have shown that more than 50% of them are leaking radioactive tritium. This is really important because, I'm an advocate of spring water. The reason why spring water can rise is because it actually is light. It's like it's almost in a gaseous form in the earth, and as soon as it hits the atmosphere, it oxidizes and becomes water. It's like suddenly there's a stream flowing down and it expands, and all of a sudden you have a little trickle that turns into a stream. The reason why it's able to rise like that in a real spring is because it's losing all its sedimentary minerals, so it has very low parts per million or total dissolved solids in it, and it loses radioactive debris, which is naturally heavy. Like uranium's very heavy. Tritium's heavy water, so it's going to be left behind. That's why I really recommend spring waters, because you can actually get away from the radioactive contamination of our water supply. So when I'm saying like 60-something nuclear power plants in America are leaking radioactive tritium, I'm telling you that it's contaminating the water supply of almost every municipal water district in America. There's radioactive tritium in the water. That's a fact. And that's a reason why you should never drink tap water no matter what, even if it's filtered, because you can't filter radioactive tritium out of the water no matter what filter you have. And that's the unwritten story that they're not telling you. You can't get it out. No way. The only way you could get it out is if you had arrested you for building a hydrogen bomb, so you don't want to do that. Anyway, this business about nuclear stuff is you've got to be proactive now. You have got to take your boron, which I take every day. I would recommend very strongly you take your zeolites, which I take every day. I would recommend you take chlorella, which I was taking every day, but now it's so hot in the summer. Chlorella is kind of heating, so I kind of have to back off, but I'm doing spirulina now instead. I'd really recommend getting on ginseng and chaga. Very strongly also recommending very salty food to make sure that you have enough minerals to drive off the radioactive elements. That was shown in the Hiroshima and Nagasaki research that people who ate misos or very salty foods, sea salt in particular, were more protected from radiation. And that's since been supported by a lot of research out of the University of Hiroshima. I also recommend a document that I got from Patrick Flanagan about megahydrate. The University of Hiroshima has now proven that megahydrate actually drives off radiation out of your system. So that's something I'd look into, as well as crystal energy. And there's many more recommendations, including asparagus root, which protects your body from gamma radiation. So if you breathe in a hot particle, like has been shown in Seattle, during the month of April 2011 in Seattle, the individuals in that state or in that city were actually breathing in 5 hot particles per day. In Tokyo, it was 10. Which means that like radioactive uranium, radioactive iodine, radioactive xenon, they were breathing it in. And when that gets in your lungs, it forms what's called a shortwave, like gamma radiation burst, and you have to be protected from it, and asparagus root protects you from it. And all of that material, by the way, is all in the Longevity Now Conference DVDs and more. We go into it in depth because now we realize that the world government is going to be lying us about Fukushima. They lied to us about Fort Calhoun. They're lying to us about what's happening in Los Alamos. It's just a nonstop parade of just deception. So the only thing you can do now is protect yourself and not believe any of it. By the way, as you know, iodine. Whoa. I got to tell you a little story about iodine, Matt. I started taking iodine every day, right? Now, I've taken seaweed and sea vegetables, probably like you have, every day that I've eaten for years. So I've gotten iodine, but not enough. Not enough, not even close, because I've been putting it on every day, and what I've been noticing is that my body absorbs it 100% within an hour, meaning that the iodine stain is gone, and you can just put it on topically, so it just goes right into you. You don't have to take it orally. You can, but you don't have to. You can put it on topically, and then you see, okay, in an hour, is it still there? If it's still there, then you're starting to become saturated in iodine. I've been doing this stuff straight mega amounts since Fukushima. And I'm still not saturated. In fact, I'm still not even close to being saturated with iodine, which is telling me how important iodine is. Now, I want to tell you something this is a little aside, and this is kind of fun little side information. It's good to go on a tangent every now and then. Iodine is a halogen, like chlorine and fluorine is, and by nature automatically allows your body to get away from chlorine and fluorine and displaces chlorine and fluorine. So even if you have filters on your showers, you're not processing out radioactive tritium, you're not processing out chlorine either, even if it's a chlorine filter, because it comes through as trihalomethanes. The only way you can actually get that out is you have to pour your bath, let it sit there for an hour, then get in. That's when it's free of chlorine. What I'm driving at is that we're always contaminated with chlorine, no matter where we are, what we're doing, and iodine protects us from chlorinated water. It protects us from uptaking the chlorine because our body will preferentially uptake the iodine instead. And once we're saturated in iodine, we don't uptake the chlorine and the fluorine. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And now, here's the little aside. That wasn't the aside. That was just the preview to the aside. I spent a lot of time with David Hudson recently in the North Georgia mountains. He was the developer and discoverer of Ormus. And one of the things I gleaned from my conversation with him, and I'd never realized it before, is that when you turn gold into Ormus gold, you actually turn it into a halogen. It's called the white dove in alchemy. It flies. It's gas. And the Ormus gold that I've been working on for all these years, when you put it on your skin, it goes right in. Have you noticed that, Matt? Have you ever taken the Ormus gold?
Yeah.
The reason why it goes right in is because it's like iodine or chlorine. It goes right in, you see? Yeah. So it's also protecting you probably from radioactive iodine and chlorine and fluorine. That's the reason why we do iodine in the first place, is to protect ourselves. But it appears now that the Ormus gold actually has that property. It definitely chemically has all the properties of a halogen. That's been proven, and we know that for a fact. The way it absorbs into your body also indicates that it's like this. So now we're getting a little bit more information, and there's a little bit of discovery going on about all this.
So I know a lot of people that lived in Hawaii, and because after Fukushima happened, they left. And I know Noni Land is there, and you feel okay visiting there, and as long as you take these things, or what's your feeling on that?
Well, I flew over Fukushima in March. It was about March 14th. And we literally flew from Seoul, South Korea, right over Fukushima. I saw it on the flight map. I couldn't believe it. We were literally flying over the darn thing. I took more ginseng in one flight than you could take in a month. I mean, I took a month's worth of ginseng in one flight because we're literally, even the plane's not going to protect you from radioactive tritium and other radioactive particles that are in the atmosphere. And radioactive tritium will go right into the plane. It absorbs right through. It's hydrogen. Anyway, so I was kind of freaked out. But we got to Hawaii before the couple weeks. I'm not sure what to expect. I don't know what's going to go on. But I will definitely be doing my anti-radiation protocol. That's for sure.
Right.
Anywhere in Hawaii, anywhere in the whole western seaboard of the U.S., including British Columbia and Canada, you should be on a massive radiation protection protocol. And I would say that's even true all the way to the Midwest of the U.S., even to St. Louis, because there's been significant radiation detected in the rain in St. Louis.
So the reason why you stay and travel in these places is because of your mission, and you choose to just do these radiation protocols.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling like, hey, I'm doing the best thing I can to protect myself. Am I 100% protected from radioactive plutonium? No, nobody is. But, it's kind of, we get to choose. We can, participate in the world and do our work in the world, or we can just say forget it and, go to the tip of South America and try to hide out, a say in it. That's how I feel. I mean, my goal is to always be right in the middle of the action, whatever that looks like, however that's going to pan out, and we'll see what that looks like in the future. We're definitely stepping much deeper into fascism. There's no question about it. We're definitely stepping much more into control of freedoms, but at the same time, it's like they're trying to squash us over here, but meanwhile it's going like this over here. Like squash over here, and then over here it goes, so
right.
It leaks out. That's what we're doing here with all our information products, is we're getting the information out there because they can't stop us. There's nothing they can do about it.
Right.
But whoever they are, if you know what I mean.
Right. I mean, who's crazy enough to like just leave and go to the south tip of South America?
I mean, who would go down to Ecuador, for example?
Cool.
Now, because you're south of the equator, you're in a zone where you're not getting radioactive fallout, actually, down there.
Yeah.
Actually, the southern hemisphere of the world only has 2 nuclear reactors, where there are hundreds in the northern hemisphere of the world. So long-term intelligent idea might be to get to the southern hemisphere of the world. If you're watching from Australia right now, hallelujah. I mean, what a great place to be in the middle of all this chaos.
Right. Hey, Angela just came back in.
All right.
Hey, good evening.
How you doing?
Good.
You look great. You weren't asleep. You were doing your hair.
I had some questions for you as well.
Okay.
I just had to get up to come and ask you. One of them was, we had a pretty full-on day here today. Lots of people and activity and movement, and man, I'm like burnt out from one day of doing that. And I was like, how do you just keep going non-stop all the time? How do you support your adrenals? How do you survive with the kind of lifestyle you lead? Because it seems like you didn't stop for like the last 15 years.
Yeah, it's been non-stop. I just keep going. I don't know. I just keep going. I keep putting myself through more and more intense kind of disciplines too. I mean, like today, I worked out with Truth Calkins, and then I went and did another workout after that was way harder than I thought it was going to be. I mean, it was an hour of literally what professional athletes do as part of their workout. I went to a place here in Los Angeles where professional athletes work out, and I just got in with his trainer, and he's like, do this, then that, then do this, then do that, then do this, then do that. And I was like, oh my God. So at the end of that, I literally had to like come back here where I'm staying and lay down for an hour, like asleep. I just had to lay. I was so tired. I'm not 16 anymore. I'm like, wait a second. I can't do this like that, like I used to. So anyway, I continue to keep doing that just to kind of stay up with the game, stay in physical shape. There's definitely a food program that I do, and superfoods and super herb program that I do. And of course, I only drink spring water. And fortunately, my dear friend Colleen had brought me an entire pitcher of spring water from Mount Shasta this morning, and I drank that after that workout. I was so happy to have fresh spring water. And when you do all those things, just works out. You feel good and can keep going.
Nice.
Yeah.
My other question was,
part of it also is you have to have it in your mind. You assume that you can keep going. That's a big part of it, right? The assumption that no, I'm not stopping, I'm going to keep going is a very important assumption.
beautiful. My other question was wondering if you're willing to share some of your daily rituals or the things that you do in a day to help you stay motivated and focused. I don't know if you do meditation or visualization or what it is that really keeps you in a beautiful space.
I missed that last little bit, but what do I do to stay motivated and focused? Well, I've got so many things on my plate. I've got so many things sitting there. It's just ridiculous. This is a TV commercial. I'm going to cover this up so you can't really see it, but this right here is a television commercial that I'm going to be in that's going to come out in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks in Canada, and that's exciting. So I've been doing that thing on the side. I've been doing, obviously, this whole thing of putting these DVDs together and getting this whole launch together for the DVDs from our 2011 longevity conference. I've got, a million things going on with my iPhone. Look at this. Like every gadget, like all the little things, all that stuff. Got a million things going on there, which is amazing. So I can be driving and be like texting. Just kidding. I do that sometimes, but I don't ever do that. Anyway, and just checking stuff out and doing a little bit of writing on the side when I can. I've been writing this Shaga book, which by the way, we did put into this launch for the DVDs, which is exciting. There's a lot of information about Shaga that I came across from doing this research that I'm sure nobody knows, and that's amazing. I really feel like mycology in the area of these medicinal mushrooms is an area of tremendous discovery. There's so much happening in that field, and there's so much that is not known, and I'm finding that out about Shaga, and there's some discoveries that I'm going to announce at some point about Shaga, but I need a little bit more research. I'm actually going to get a microscope and start really looking into this a little bit more deeply.
Wow.
About what's going on with Shaga mushroom. Because there appears to be, well, I'll just kind of give you a hint, it appears to not be just one organism.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Like lichens are a symbiont of a mushroom and an algae. They're both, right? And I eat a lichen quite a bit when I'm at home called rock tripe. It grows on rocks. And you can peel it off. It looks like seaweed, and you can eat it. It's amazing food. It's like beef jerky, but it's 100% plant-based, and it's raw, and it's real, and it's the original wild food. And what it's like mushrooms and algae together. That's an amazing combination for nutrition. And I found out about it because Arctic explorers survived on it way back in the day. It's a symbiont of two organisms, and I think Shaga is something like that from a number of different discoveries that have come over the last 6 months. About Shaga. So yeah, I just continue to look into different things, and whatever seems to be, in the moment, I'll dig deep into it. But sometimes I don't have enough time to dig into, like, one of my latest things, which is hormones. So I've got all these books on hormones here. I've got to get through these books. Wow. And that's kind of a bummer if you don't have enough time to get through it all. But I'll find time, like in an elevator. You have 30 seconds in an elevator, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Cool.
All right.
Right on. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing all your wisdom.
Right on. Thanks, you guys. Matt and Angela. Hope you guys are having the best time ever. Great to see you. You look great. You guys are looking wonderful. It must be really good for you down there.
Thank you. So we got David Avocado Wolfe and
Angela Stokes Monarch.
And Matt Monarch, and we'll see you again tomorrow at the Raw Food World TV show.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again at the Raw Food World.